Hey everyone, Urban Fish Keeper here. So today's video is probably going to be quite a short one. I just want to run you through the rack part 2 and what I've done, what I've found, what I've changed, etc. Firstly, I want to say I'm really glad I did this in 2 parts because the feedback that I received after part 1 was really awesome. And thanks a lot to those people that sent through comments and questions. And if anything, they made me think about a couple of components that I need to consider on this rack. So thank you very much for that. The other thing I just want to mention, it's really important. This is how I do things, and this is how I'm building it or putting together. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it the best method. I'm just sharing with you some of the things that I do. And, it's then up to you to go away and change it or do it the way that you want to. Design or make something that works for you. Just around the safety point of view, just a reminder again, when working with those power tools, when cutting boards, when drilling holes, safety first. Just make sure you know how to operate the machinery, you know what you're doing, and be safe when working with tools in particular. The other thing is when working with the MDF, just remember that when cutting MDF dust is not good for you, so make sure that you wear the appropriate masks and so forth. All right, so where we're at. So firstly, as some of you may know, I was in quarantine for 2 weeks, and this weekend, the weekend that we're in right now, was the first weekend that I've been able to get out the house, which has been great. So what I did is I went down yesterday to 2 of my local fish stores to try and pick up some plants, and neither one of them had any decent little plants that I could put in any of these cubes. So what I've done in the interim is I've just taken bits and pieces of plants out of some of my other tanks on the rack and popped a couple in there, and those that are empty, as time goes, I'll get some plants for them. The other thing I'm thinking is I might do a bit of an order online with one of the local online stores, and we can have a look and see what that's like and what it arrives like and if it's any good and so forth. Now, some of the comments that came, so all lights are in. We've got four cubes per shelf. We've got 5 shelves. The bottom shelf number 5, which you probably can't see just off camera, is got 4 betters in it, and those were ones where the filters, where they'd been in the same cubes for the last 2-3 months, and I just moved them across onto there unheated, as I spoke about in my first video about having a shelf that's not heated. Now, I just want to address 2 of the main comments that came through in putting this video together. The one was people had a concern that these shelves would not hold the weight, and I may have a shelf collapsing. The other concern was the bowing of the shelves. Now, on the collapsing of the shelves, I felt reasonably confident that with 2 long screws through each side of the shelf, plus the shelf rated at 30 kilos, I would be okay. There's 3.5 liters of water in each one of these. Take the substrate, take the glass container itself, so maybe 5 kilograms per one, so that's 20 kilos on a shelf. The shelf is rated at 30. It's got 2 long screws through each side. I felt reasonably comfortable with that. But the really good point that people made was to say, what about the bowing that may happen over time? And they're right. On these kind of shelves, any bookshelf, after a while, when it's got a bit of weight and it's got a tendency to bow. So my thinking was, how do I address both of those concerns? The weight carrying capacity, just to make sure we're okay, and then the bowing. So what I've done is I went to my local hardware store. For those of you in Australia, you would know that's Bunnings. And I was able to get these brackets. Right. And each one of these, and these are called heavy duty brackets, and each one of these brackets can take 50 kilos. So each bracket on its own can take 50 kilos. And the nice thing about these brackets as well is the length of the bracket, the top part, is about 250 mils, so 25 centimeters. So by putting one bracket on one side in front, because most of the weight's in front, that's going across 25. The other bracket on the other side is coming across 25. And all I'm left with is that little gap in the center. Now I feel reasonably comfortable, and it's screwed down on the side. So I've got two of those brackets that I'm running per shelf. That hopefully, because of the how far the bracket comes across, will prevent the bowing. And now we also have two brackets that have a carrying capacity of 50 kilograms each, so 100 kilograms of weight can be carried by these brackets as they're assembled here. So I'm quite comfortable now that one is the shelf is secure, and two, that this should prevent any bowing in the shelf. Now, obviously we'll see over the next few months. If that changes, if it starts bowing or showing different signs, then this project didn't work out as planned, and I need to make changes or scrap the project and start something else. Now, the other thing that was interesting is previously when I've used heating in some form, be it and on my main rack, I've spoken about it there, I use heat tape, which is a tape that is used in reptiles, and I've used heat tape on that rack, and I run two rows of heat tape under my 20 liters. So there's 620 liters, and it's got 2 rows of heat tape. Excuse me. That heat tape quite adequately keeps those 6 tanks at 27.5 degrees. And when I set it at 28, it keeps it at 28 as well. So there's no problem with that heat tape keeping those aquariums at the temperature that I wanted. On here, I went for a different approach. I went with a heat cable. What I found in my situation where it doesn't get that cold in here at night, so when I say it doesn't get that cold, it's not dropping down to like 15 degrees or something like that. It's probably more like when it's really cold, maybe in this room it gets down to 18 or 19. But what I found is that the heating cable, and because I've only gone, as you would have seen in the first part, I've only gone one line of heating cable. What I've found over the week in monitoring it is that I'm probably only getting between 2 and 4 degrees above ambient temperature. So if the room is at 20 degrees, I'm getting anywhere between 22 and 24 degrees water temperature in these cubes. When the room is up at 22, it's taking me up to 26, but it's set at 25 anyway. So my recommendation is, if you're going to go with something like this, if you're going to use the heating cable, you need more coils, or you need to use the heating tape. Now, this coil or the heating cable that I'm using in here, there's nothing wrong with it. And the reason I can say that is I currently use those heating cables on another shelf on the other side of the room, where I've got some baby green tree pythons in little plastic containers. Now, part of that container, so the back third of that container, I keep warm for them, and I keep that at 32 degrees. And that keeps it at 32, that heating cable keeps those containers at 32 degrees, no problem. The difference there is I've got 4. So instead of just running one across, I've actually got it coming back, and I've actually got 4 rows of the heating cable going across, and the container is across all 4 of those, and that then keeps it at 32. When it came to this, 32 was not what I was chasing, 26, 25, 26 what I was chasing. I get to that temperature, but it's depending on what the temperature in my room is. Coming into summer, this is not a problem. As I've said before, it's how do I keep this cool as opposed to how do I warm this up. But going into winter next year, if I want to keep stuff in here that needs a bit more temperature, I may have to rethink the use of the heating cable and either put multiples or maybe go with a heat tape on this. Other than that, guys, it's actually been a really good build. I've enjoyed it. It hasn't been too complicated. I had some challenges when I put in the sponge filters. I'm just making sure that the tubing from the sponge filters going up to the regulator was nice and neat. And you know, that was it. Just you know, cut it down to size, so it wasn't a big coil behind that. You know, putting ADA in some of these, you know, how's that going to go? You know, it's going to be good for some of the, you know, for the plants, the ones without it in. Do I need to change them and put ADA in there? I don't know. And that will just progress, and I'll keep you guys updated. In my first video, I also said, look, if you have any ideas of what you would like to see in any of these cubes, let me know. A good friend of mine in the States, Tyrone, sent me a mail and said, hey, here's some options that I think would work really well in that. And when it comes to breeding fish, I really rate him. So, you know, I was glad to get some input from him. So at the moment, my thinking is Rasboras, probably a variety of them. The other thing is, if I can get certain killifish, which I've kept previously in small containers, if I can get those, I might, and that's going to be difficult to get some of them. I may put some of them in these cubes as well. But you know what, we'll try it out, we'll give it a go. We'll try different things. If something doesn't work, or if I see the fish aren't settling in well and they're not doing well, I'll move them straight away. I'll move them into another tank, and that's it. All right, guys, there's probably not a lot more I can talk about this rack. Other than, you know, from a costing point of view, not the cheapest. As I've spoken about, you know, each one of these cubes are $25. The heating cable, I had the heating cable, but you know, you're still going to be looking at, you know, a good couple of dollars for the heating cable. The lights, you're still looking at, you know, $30 to $40 a light. You know, the regulators, a couple of dollars for those. The filters, you know, $3 to $4 for each one of those. There's 20 of those. The bookshelf itself was, you know, $70, $71. So it all adds up. So not a cheap project, but one that I've really enjoyed, and it's been fun. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. And I'm looking forward to, we'll leave it now, we'll wait for the water to, some of the water's still a little bit cloudy, because I've also been adding in from some of the sponge filters, just squeezing in some of the waste from the sponge filters to try and get the bacteria going a bit quicker in them. But I'm looking forward to getting them settled, and getting the wood, some of the wood starting to get that slime on it as well, which most wood goes through that initial phase. So waiting for all of that to clear, and then we can start adding in a couple of things. I have got some blue shrimp here as well, and I may, you know, give up one of these little cubes and put a couple of blue shrimp in there. I think they'll look really good. So anyway, guys, that's the idea. That's what we're planning. Next videos, I probably will do a tank repair. I've got 100 cube. That's the seam, the front seam started pulling loose, and that tank just started leaking at a hell of a rate. So I've had to pull all the fish out of that and move them into whatever other space I had. And because space is limited and tanks are limited and everything's got something in, that's been a real challenge. But I need to repair that. Looking at the tank's not even a year old, but the build was really terrible down the one seam. Once I've pulled off the plastic edging that protects the corners, once I pulled that off, you could see how badly the seam was. So I think what I'll do for my next video is actually just run you through that, show you that, pull off the front panel, and then re-silicone it, and just run you through what's, you know, how to do that, how to repair tanks, and what you need to look out for. All right, guys, that's it from me. Once again, you know, thanks for all the subscriptions, really appreciate it. Stay safe, look after yourself, have a fantastic week. Urban Fish Keeper out.